Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we return with round 2 of season 2 of our F1 manager McLaren career mode. Yes, we're back this weekend, still out in the Middle East, ready for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. And quickly, before we jump into this one, if you missed out on the Bahrain GP that went live a couple of days ago, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. The season started in quite dramatic fashion. I'll try not to leave too many spoilers throughout the first minute or so of this video. But yeah, definitely one to go back and watch. Of course, we had all the new driver lineups, all the new car performances, and things have certainly been a lot less predictable than in Season 1. As well, I just want to quickly issue a little apology. You know, content has been a little bit thin recently. As you can probably tell by my voice, I've not been feeling very well, so I'm hoping this week that we're going to start getting some more regular videos up and running once more. There's also going to be a few little tweaks and changes that I'm excited to be bringing you guys as well. But yeah, championship-wise, we lead both titles at the moment. Lando Norris, a beautiful victory, overtaking Charles Leclerc on the final lap of the Bahrain Grand Prix last weekend, means he comes into round 2 on 25 points there. Oscar Piastri did bring home a couple of points as well. It was a very, very weird Grand Prix. A lot of DRS trains really did shake the order up. But yeah, currently tied with Alpine at the top of the Constructors' Championship there. Ferrari in P3, just 2 points back. So yeah, the top 3 teams in the championship separated by 2 points there. Alfa Romeo in P4 ahead of Mercedes and Haas there, and Red Bull having an absolute disaster down in 8th place there. Certainly not the way they would have wanted to try and defend their World Championship glory from last season. We've got a few little bits and pieces though going on at the moment. We've got a new front wing going onto the car. I've already put the new rear wing onto the car as well there, so that's given us a little bit of extra performance. So yeah, let's head out then into Saudi Arabia. The Jeddah Corniche Street Circuit, of course, very, very high speed. Let's hope it plays into our hands.
Formula One is back. Welcome to one of the fastest circuits on the calendar here at Jeddah. The Saudi Arabian Grand Prix is about to kick off and the atmosphere here is electric. The Jeddah Street Circuit has one of the fastest average speeds as well as the most corners of any track on the calendar. Good high-speed downforce is going to make life in the fast lane a little easier for drivers here this weekend. At this early stage in the season, there are still plenty of opportunities for things to change. In this sport, there simply are no guarantees. What will happen this weekend? Only time will tell.
Right, well, here we are then, back in the Jeddah Corniche Street Circuit. Remember last year this race was absolutely horrible for us, so fingers crossed this weekend things are going to go a whole lot better there. But we should have one new suspension on the car, so I'm going to try and put that on Lando Norris, of course. You know, World Championship leader, we have got to prioritise him as well, I think, at the moment. So we're going to get that one bolted on immediately. Can I emergency manufacture one? Yes, I can, for $250,000. You know what, we got some money, so I'll do that and place that onto Oscar's car as well. So, you know, a little bit cheeky, but you know, you got to play to the game's advantage as well whilst you can. So both cars then with the new suspension settings as well. Let's get ready to send them out onto the circuit then. Of course, very, very low downforce around this circuit, so it's going to be about trying to maximise the straight line speed here, and of course just trying to make sure that we're consistent enough through the twisty bits of Sector 1. Right, well, there we are then. Both cars heading out onto the circuit. No issues by the looks of it before we get into free practice 1 here. Of course, as always, we'll just make sure they're avoiding the curbs, driving in clear air. I am waiting for the day we get a wet Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, not only in F1 Manager, but also in real life, because I've just suddenly thought about how mental that would be. But yeah, let's try and just get through free practice, get the car set up nicely. I'm going to try, I mean, obviously I'm still featuring free practice in this series. I know I get asked sometimes as to why I don't feature it on F1 22 anymore. Of course, I've basically got all my setups dialed in on that game now, and it's pretty boring. But F1 Manager, it does still provide some unique challenges each and every race weekend. There we go. Oscar not happy with the car early on. We'll bring him straight back into the pit lane then. That's not reassuring. Impressed though that he's given us data before Lando's able to. Here we go. Lando Norris then up to 5. What's he saying? And he's not happy with the car either. So we'll bring them both in. And yeah, I think we were running maybe just a bit too little downforce. I think this weekend, though, in Saudi Arabia could be rather interesting, you know, with the effects of the DRS once more. You know, that was the big thing that we saw last weekend in Bahrain. We still know just how ridiculous the DRS can be inside F1 Manager, but yeah, it's going to be a question of whether obviously the front runners can try and break free, you know, whether someone makes a mistake that potentially opens up the window for other cars, and of course always around Saudi Arabia as well, the very good chance of a safety car if anyone makes any sort of mistakes. But yeah, not looking particularly promising so far, but as like last weekend, as we look towards qualifying, it might be another Q2, but clearly the car's got good race pace and points are available on a Sunday. Oscar Piastri still not happy with the car. I just don't know what we can do to try and get these two drivers happy with it. Hopefully we're trying to make some breakthroughs with Lando, but it just seems like even the parameters the game thinks we should be in, neither driver is happy with. What's Lando Norris done? I literally just watched him slowly slide off into a wall. He's got the car slowed down. No, he just decides, yeah, I'll hit that wall, turn the car around a bit. He literally hit a wall at 10 miles an hour. I don't get this game still. But Lando's going to have to peel back in then. So yeah, we're going to have to put... I don't even know if we've got any spare front wings on. So Lando Norris might be in trouble. But Oscar Piastri getting the car tweaked. This does not help early on in the year, Lando. You're meant to be leading the World Championship. Spinned it. Yuki Tsunoda apparently in the Haas car. Can't see where he's gone off turn 1 apparently. Has this been a rather fast shunt? Has he got involved in an instant with the Alfa Romeo alongside him? No, Yuki sees him in the mirrors and just sends himself to the Shadow Realm. Well, luckily VSC not lasting for all too long here, but yeah, Norris down in 17th, Oscar down in 19th place early on in free practice. We've got 13 minutes to go. We just need to gather up the last little bits of data we can before we head into quali. And I always like to give him a shout out. Nick de Vries in the Mercedes this weekend, clearly doing a BMW driver's test there, sat on George Russell's gearbox down towards turn 1. He's either driving a BMW or driving a Ford Transit. One or the other, let me know down in the comments below.
Our race weekend continues as we head into qualifying. Teams will be taking the data they've gathered from free practice into qualifying today, as they try to give themselves the best chance possible going into tomorrow's race. But focus right now needs to be on the task at hand, setting the best lap time possible and working their way up the grid. Stay with us as we see who can deliver on motorsport's biggest stage.
Well, jumping in then straight with Q2. Q1, pretty much exactly the same story as last weekend. Both both Aston Martins even, both Williams, and Yuki Tsunoda. They're still the young Japanese driver, whether he's in an AlphaTauri or a Haas car, really is struggling over that one lap pace. But we look to be a little bit closer on the money this weekend. Lando Norris P9 at the end of Q1. Oscar Piastri was down in P14, but we were the only team as well to get both cars through on just a single run. I've sent them both out on the old scrub set of tyres as well for their first run in Q2. It just means, of course, we'll send them both out on a fresh set at the end of qualifying. If they make it into Q3, then they got 2 fresh sets. If they don't, it's not really the end of the world there. I think, like I said, once again, based on just how close everything is looking, that it is going to be another battle of the slipstream and DRS there, and a bit of a game of chess once more. But yeah, we'll see what times they can post. Charles Leclerc there, 28.8, it's a pretty competitive lap time. We want to be within a second of that, as Sergio Perez there, just 1/10 away. Oscar Piastri then, first one up towards the line. What is the time going to be for the young Australian there? Goes 4th. Just quicker than Kevin Magnussen. Are we seeing Lando Norris going any quicker than that? They look to be pretty even. As Lando Norris then up over the line will go 4th. 400ths of a second between our two drivers at the end of their first runs. Oscar is really now starting to perform over one lap. I'm loving this. Well, as always then, we're going to try and make sure that our cars are the last ones out onto a final qualifying lap. Here's Charles Leclerc fastest ahead of both Red Bulls there and his teammate just 2/10 back. But I mean, look at this. Every single car separated by, well, just over 1 second there. But Hamilton a lot further down the order than we would expect from our fellow Brits. So let's wait and see how much the times shuffle around there. Daniel Ricciardo, of course, former McLaren driver, just 0.02 of a second behind these fellow Australian of Oscar Piastri. This time around, though, we're going to ride on board with Lando Norris for a trip around the Jeddah Corniche Street Circuit there as he winds his way down in towards turn 3. Of course, this first sector, by far and away the most challenging of the lap. Just got to try and thread the needle as close to those walls as you dare. And it is quite impressive. I'm pretty certain Saudi Arabia on F1 Manager is based on the 2021 layout of the venue, of course, with the tweaked DRS zones. Just how much this track is already changing. Obviously, we get big movement every year around this venue. Talking of big movement, Charles Leclerc there goes another quarter of a second faster down into the 28.5s there. Sergio Perez, a master of these streets, just 1/10 back quicker than his teammate Verstappen. Sainz gets pushed down onto, well, provisionally the third row of the grid, but of course we're not even into Q3 just yet. Ocon still in 6th place there. Pierre Gasly bumps himself up the order. This pushes Oscar Piastri down into P11 there. Lando Norris now down into P11 as Hamilton will find the time. But you can see both of our cars are improving as well there as Oscar Piastri. It's not by a lot, though. As we round our way out of the final corner, will the Australian be able to find, what, another 0.2 of a second to try and bump himself back up the roster? Oscar Piastri, no, he will not. It's P11. The Australian at very best there, but will his teammate Lando Norris be able to go any quicker? We just need a 1/10.5 from Lando up towards the line. Yes, he will. And it's our first Q3 appearance of the year there from last weekend's winner. Lando Norris there runs up in P8. Right, well, let's see what sort of lap time then Lando Norris can get out of the car in Q3. I mean, he's going to be battling with those Alfa Romeos and Esteban Ocon there. I think the big six still over one lap have just got a bit too much. But, you know, maybe if he can get up into P7, spring a bit of a surprise, he can try and latch onto those front runners ready for the Grand Prix. And maybe try and push those Alfa Romeos and Alpines a bit further back there. Max Verstappen immediately back down into the 28.5s. Carlos Sainz there just 0.04 behind. But, you know, Fernando Alonso onto a 29.2. That's the sort of pace we've got to be aiming for. Here we are, Lando Norris down in towards the final couple of corners. Been riding on board with him throughout the entirety of this lap, and what a lap it has been there. Ocon, 1/1000th of a second quicker than his former teammate. Valtteri Bottas, though, a very good lap time, and Lando will go right between them into P6. We're still waiting on both Mercedes, though, to finish their run. Hamilton straight up into P5 there ahead of his former teammate, George Russell. Where will he compare? Imagine P6. Yes, it is. A 10th away behind his teammate, a 10th quicker than the cars behind. We've got one more run. Let's make it count. Lando Norris then preparing himself for his final run here in Q3. I might have tried experimenting to see if we can go any quicker with the manual deployment settings on F1 Manager, but let's wait and see what Lando Norris can do then as he rounds out over the start-finish line there. He's got a little bit of a gap to the cars in front, tucks it down nicely in through the first couple of turns. Of course, we'll try and compare, see what the lap time's going to be, but I mean, surely we're just going to leave him on full attack mode unless we can try using overtake down around the back straights there. That's what I'm going to try and see whether we can gain any sort of advantage here, but really we're just waiting to see the other cars. I think it's one of the Alfa Romeos finishing off their lap first of all. It is going to be Fernando Alonso, currently only down in P10. We'll try and monitor the gaps out of the corner of my eye, but Fernando Alonso rounding through the final corner. Will he be able to go quicker than Esteban Ocon? Still only 1/1000th of a second between them, but I'm sure he'll be trying to eye up his teammate Valtteri Bottas there. Of course, his best benchmark in that Alfa Romeo there is out of the final corner up over the line. Alonso will not improve, and neither will actually quite a lot of cars here. So everyone's seeming to struggle on their first run. Bottas not able to go any quicker either. We need to get ready to put Lando onto the hot lap mode as we head out in towards the final couple of corners. Overtake mode, sorry. Even I should say, is, yeah, no one really improving at the moment. George Russell has improved, but not his position. As down in towards the final corner then for Lando Norris. We'll go back into the deploy, make sure we get the run off the final corner. Are we even improving though at the moment? Yes, we are. Green sector 1, green sector 2, up towards the start-finish line. Will we be able to go What?
Copy that.
Why? Hey? He was up. Lando Norris is just pit. I don't know how much we were going to improve by. I don't know what's happened there, but Lando Norris has just decided he can't be bothered to finish off that run, and he's peeled into the pit lane. What on earth is that? Well, chaos and confusion. Then down at McLaren at the end of the session there, you can see he did go 0.06 of a second quicker than he had in the previous runs. I mean, a lot of people pretty much matching their times from prior qualifying sessions there. Max Verstappen, look at that for consistency. But only 0.02 clear of Charles Leclerc come the end of qualifying there. Top 4 all covered by less than a tenth and a half over 6 kilometres here in Jeddah. But let's get into it though. It's time for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
It's race day with the teams and drivers ready and raring to go.
McLaren did well during qualifying. They maximised their potential and are in a good position for the race today. Although we didn't see a standout performance from Alpine during qualifying, everything's still open to them during this race. We've been having sunny weather here today, but there are some clouds looming that might complicate things for teams further down the line.
Well, the streets of Jeddah are abuzz, and the teams are nearly ready for the start of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
Right, here we are then, Saudi Arabian GP time. In terms of strategy, not really too sure what the best way to go is going to be today. Looks like harder compound tyres are going to be key, but like I said, I think a lot of it is just going to come down to making sure that you're in the DRS of the cars in front. They're going to put a little bit of extra fuel in. It might compromise us slightly at the start, but it often is well worth it. I know a lot of you guys give me stick for it, but I think it's well worth it on F1 Manager. 8th and 12th on the grid. Let's get into it, Saudi GP.
The drivers are lined up tonight under mostly clear skies. And there is Lando Norris. With a top 10 position on the grid, this race could really go either way for them. And it's the other McLaren. They're starting in the bottom half of the grid today, so there's a lot of cars between them and the podium. Everything's been building to this. We're now moments away from this, the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Well, there we go. Nice clean start by both of our drivers as we head down in towards turn 1. Looks like most cars are starting on the medium compound tyres there, as already Lando Norris trying to make a move on Valtteri Bottas through the first couple of corners. Will we find a way around the flying fin? Looks like we're going to be on the inside as we head down in towards turn 3 there, as Max Verstappen leads the way there. Looks like no movement in the top 6, but Lando Norris straight up in the 7th place, and exactly what we want to see. Unfortunately, Oscar Piastri has lost the place to Pierre Gasly there off the start, so really not what he would have wanted. And Ricciardo and Ocon both moving past the Alpine and Fernando Alonso there, so neither of their cars getting off to the start they would have wanted. All 3 tyres in use though at the start of this Grand Prix, as the number 2s at Ferrari and Red Bull, they're both gambling on a set of hards. Both Alpines, both Alfa Romeos on a set of hard compound tyres as well. So that's going to be very, very interesting to watch out for over the course of the afternoon. I think the goal for us is just try and break free from Bottas behind there and try and hang on to the coattails of the front runners with Lando Norris. We're already going to try and put him up into the push mode on the fuel. Don't really want to burn up too much of his tyres too early on in this Grand Prix, but a good clean start there. Oscar Piastri as well. We may as well put him onto the push mode, see if we can try and find a way back around Pierre Gasly, but both of our cars struggling, I think, to get heat into the tyres early on in the GP. Does seem to be quite a common thing though for the manual, sort of the team you control on F1 Manager there, as apparently I put more fuel in Lando's car than Oscar's. I didn't realise I'd done that, to be honest. But yeah, end of lap 1 though, Verstappen still leads ahead of both Ferraris, Perez in P4 though ahead of both Mercs. But yeah, we need to try and break free, and we need to try and get Oscar up past a lot of these hard compound runners. But again, we learned in Bahrain, patience is key in F1 Manager. You've just got to sort of see how the races come about and try and work out how we can capitalise. Right, DRS now enabled those. We start lap 3 and you can see the gap to Bottas behind us already, doing what I wanted with it, trying to get it up over that 1 second mark there. He is staying just inside the range as we head our way through the first few turns. If we just go deploy slightly on Lando Norris's car, maybe we can try and open up that gap just a little bit more through the next couple of turns. We have got to be really, really careful with it though early on in this GP, as we've got yellow flags out in Sector 2. Someone's had issues. I think it's Magnussen, who's dropped to the rear of the field. Hopefully that's not going to be a safety car. He's damaged the front wing, but I think we've got away with it. Let's see what Kevin Magnussen managed to do there then. behind Oscar Piastri in this Grand Prix. Maybe just trying to keep up, and he's done what Lando did in free practice. Nicks the wall, not too much damage though. As there we go, Bottas has now dropped outside of the 1 second range. That is perfect for us. So now we just got to try and get Lando to keep up with these Mercedes. Not really too worried about trying to fight them all too much. You know, we took that win last weekend, yes, but are we really going to have the pace to be competitive against these cars early on in the year? I'm not so sure. There is Hamilton trying to size up a move on Sergio Perez, though he's already lost the DRS to the top 3. Here we go with the Mercedes down the inside through the final corner, and he will now be up into 4th. Oscar Piastri, though, still just sat behind that huge gaggle. Well, Lando is doing everything I wanted him to do early on in this GP. I may as well leave him in push mode for a whole lot longer. I mean, if we can try and open up sort of, you know, a 7-8 second gap to the cars behind, that could be really, really important. Even if Lando ends up in no man's land throughout a lot of the second half of the afternoon, as long as he's outscoring the cars we still are meant to be battling with, that's quite important. We are, you know, meant to be trying to fight with the front runners still, but I think we've got a little bit more work that needs doing before we're going to consistently be doing that. I've just got to try and work out a way I can get Oscar Piastri a bit further up the roster. Well, I've kind of been studying Oscar over the last few laps or so, and I think now we've got to try and wait and see if we can get a run back down towards turn 1 there. I mean, Ricciardo, Ocon, Bottas and Alonso are just battling so aggressively up in front of them, as here goes Lando Norris then to the inside of Pierre Gasly back down towards turn 1. Little cheeky diving move. Oh, he kind of hesitates out of it there. So there's definitely the potential to try and go for something in this Grand Prix. But we've just got to make sure we don't leave him too vulnerable to the cars behind. But that being said, there is quite a big gap forming to Yuki Tsunoda a bit further back. Sebastian Vettel is a wily old fox, as Zhou Guanyu into the pit lane then, so he's going to try and take hards now to the end of the Grand Prix. That seems rather early. Let's try and see what we can do then with Oscar Piastri as we head out of that final corner. Lando Norris is still doing a fine job sticking to the back of those cars in front. You can see the gap to Ocon now, who's just moved up. Is staying, or sorry, is continuing to rise there. About half a second a lap we're gaining over the Frenchman there, and that's absolutely perfect early on in this race. I think, you know, the top 3 in this race, obviously Charles Leclerc now at the front ahead of Sainz and Verstappen there. They're a bit too far in front, but maybe if we can try and sneak away for Lando Norris later on in the afternoon, we've got to try and think about those sorts of things. There's all the other soft compound runners into the pit lane then, so Oscar Piastri is under no pressure from cars behind. We just can't move forward with him at the moment. I think we've just got to sit here, save batteries, save tyres, and just hopefully wait for this race to come to us. Verstappen then first car into the pit lane as he's just come out in the way of Oscar Piastri there, but clearly already the AI starting to make their stops then. What has Verstappen then is going hard probably to the end. That doesn't seem too ridiculous. We're going to try and get them both to around lap 20 there, but I'm tempted to try and go for a bit of an undercut with Oscar Piastri at the moment. I mean, he's lost quite a lot of time now. There was a couple of laps where Gasly was dropping to about a second behind Alonso, but he'd just get back in the DRS range at the right time. But yeah, it's just so weird. You can't carve your way through at the moment, as yeah, Piastri's got to try and make sure that he doesn't now lose touch with those cars in front. Let's just keep pushing. There we go. More and more cars into the pit lane then. Lando Norris now up into P4. I'm going to ignore him, but actually I'm tempted. No, Oscar's gone past pit lane entry as well, hasn't he now? So Oscar up into P11, but he has now lost the DRS to the cars in front. So I'm going to box him then at the end of this lap. Don't like normally bringing Oscar into the pit lane before Lando, just because he tends to be a bit worse on his tyres. But yeah, we really have lost out because of that. Gasly as well into the pit lane then. But yeah, Lando is still doing a fine job, still stuck to the back of Perez and George Russell there, as Sainz now leading the way. There we go, Russell into the pit lane. So yeah, obviously those two drivers on the hard compound tyres are able to extend their stints just a little bit further, so we might have to be careful with Lando that he doesn't get undercut by some of the other cars there. But where are we going to re-emerge relative to Pierre Gasly then? Lance Stroll is not far behind him. So just got to make sure they're 2.5 second stop. We can't moan too much about either, as Oscar Piastri then will head back down pit lane. Lance Stroll is not too far behind as we head back at the pits there. So as you can see, the Williams flying past back towards turn 1 there. We're still ahead though of Sebastian Vettel by the looks of it. Yes, we have. So we've swooped out ahead of the German. But I think at the moment, Oscar Piastri, we're going to have to try and push on He's not in a great place there. He's lost about another 2 seconds to Pierre. And Lando Norris then, at the end of 21, I'm going to peel him into the pit lane then, onto his fresh set of the hard compound tyres. Still doing pretty well. Like I said, of course, up with Perez there, but Sainz is looking in control of this race early on there. But reassuring that Lando's been able to take these medium compound tyres, as far as he has. I think we're going to see the likes of Bottas and Ocon peel into the pit lane quite soon as well there. I mean, looking at the gaps, I think he's probably going to head out around about those Mercedes cars, so he should come out in some clear air anyway, relative to a lot of the cars he was going to be potentially battling with later on in the afternoon. And maybe, of course, you know, if Leclerc and Verstappen, I mean, look at how much these cars are battling with each other still. Maybe this could allow Lando to get a bit closer to those drivers as well towards the front of the field. He's going to be on slightly fresher tyres right the way from now to the checkered flag, but re-emerging out in P11 then. He's got a bit of clear air, but it'd be nice if we could get back to those Mercs. As we cross over half distance then in this Grand Prix, I mean, look at this train of cars still. Looks like Leclerc's made it to the front of this. No, he hasn't even made it to the front of the gaggle yet. He's still got both Alpines to get around there, but Lando Norris now all over the back of George Russell. Hamilton as well, of course, is in this train. So, yeah, we really have opened up quite a good little strategy here, because we're going to be on fresher tyres than a lot of these cars towards the end of the race. And, yeah, they're all really struggling now. I mean, the worst thing that could happen is we get a safety car that really does allow, you know, both those Alpines, those Alfa Romeos, to get right back in the mix. Oscar Piastri there still stuck a bit battling with Sebastian Vettel, but, you know, he's doing his own thing, he's doing alright. He could do with a safety car a bit later on in the afternoon. But, yeah, it really is a case of how can we try and shift Lando ahead of some of these other cars? When are they going to box as well? Are we going to see any of them peel into the pit lane now? No, we will not. So, still causing a bit of a roadblock here. I mean, this is what, a 9-car scrap? Halfway into a Grand Prix, we've got 9 cars battling for P3 in this GP. A lot of them on various strategies, I completely get, but this is just mental. Leclerc has now broke free at the front of this group. Lando has made a move on Fernando as well, so that must have been down, yeah, out of the final corner last time round there. Fernando just not quite able to put the power down, so Lando Norris still making good progress then against the Spaniard. But yeah, I mean, at the moment, we're just doing our own thing. We're still... Oh, there we go. Finally, Daniel Ricciardo peels into the pit lane then, so we are going to see more of the AI into the pits. Looks like Lando is going to try and make a move on Valtteri Bottas as we head back down towards someone then. Much fresher tyres on the McLaren. Is he going to be able to try and find a way around there? Come on, Lando, get the move done on Bottas. He's going to have the power on the exit there. The superior grip, the superior traction. He has dropped ever so slightly out of the DRS range. No, he gets straight back in it. This is going to be really interesting late on in the afternoon, but Piastri, he's got the jump on Daniel Ricciardo here, so yes, we're going to see those Alpines be quite quick towards the end, but suddenly now Piastri is potentially back in the fight for the top 10. There we go, Sergio Perez into the pit lane as well, so where is he going to re-emerge in this Grand Prix? He might be a lot further back down the roster as well, so it really has been a weird race so far when it comes to strategy. I can only imagine that the medium compound tyres are going to be very quick towards the end. But we've just got to try and stick in this train then. So we're effectively now up into a net P6 of this Grand Prix. It just has not worked out for Verstappen, who still is stuck looking at the back of Esteban Ocon's rear wing there. Of course, they've got some beef in the past. Piastri and Vettel still duking it out a bit further behind. So we are going to have to be a bit careful of that, though. It doesn't cost us too much time. Ricciardo is closing in. I'm tempted, though, with sort of 12 laps to go, maybe chuck Oscar onto a set of softs. See what we can do, because we're not really going to lose out right, with those final cars then pitting in this Grand Prix. Look at this, Lando Norris trying to size up a move on Verstappen back down towards someone then. Not quite able to make anything happen this time round, but now we're starting to get a rough idea of how this Grand Prix is looking then. So Ferrari 1-2, they've somehow played the strategy quite well. Doesn't happen often, but it has happened today apparently. Mercedes 3 and 4 there have got the jump on both Red Bulls. We're still tucked up behind Max Verstappen in this Grand Prix, as Oscar Piastri is now in a fight for the final points paying position there. I think Alonso is yet to pit, so he should be into the points then in this Grand Prix. We've just got to try and use Seb to our advantage here. I don't really think pitting onto a set of softs is going to make a big difference later on in the day there. It might just throw any slim chance we've got. Definitely haven't quite got the pace we had last weekend there. I think Bahrain was still going to be a bit of an outlier, but we're in the money. Oh, we've got someone span. Someone span. I just saw a car running off the circuit. Who was that? I think it was a Williams. We've had a big crash. Surely that's going to be a safety car or something along those lines late on in the afternoon. We got yellows. It's Verstappen. I was going to say, I thought I just noticed that Lando had got past him, so Lando Norris hadn't made the move. Verstappen desperate to try and get back past the McLaren, loops it round, finds the wall, and that is a very, very dangerous place to have a car left on the circuit. So Verstappen in a whirl of hurt there. We're up now to P5 of the race, but it doesn't look like we're going to get a safety car, so that works out quite nicely for Oscar as well, because he should be able to get the place off the Dutchman. But yeah, Piastri then still just duking it out, trying to keep close to Ricciardo late on in the afternoon. We've got to try and use Ricciardo to keep Ocon at bay. As you can just see how quick that Alpine is trying to close in. We've got to try and stay in the points here, as will surely Verstappen's got to pit. He's got half a front wing. So Verstappen then in a world of hurt there with just 12 laps to go this afternoon. That could have been quite nice for Oscar Piastri, open up a different strategy. But Lando Norris still duking out with the other Red Bull car. Again, not too devastated if we don't get him, but we might try and size up a move on the final lap, just like we did last weekend. Piastri then back up into P8 there as he goes round the outside of Ricciardo down at turn 1. He's just got very little battery to work with. That's the big problem. Sit ramp then with 10 laps to go. Esteban Ocon now past Oscar Piastri as well then. So Oscar, yeah, is just losing places towards the end of this GP. It really is a question of whether we can just try and hang on there. Lando Norris then, look at this. Our 4-car scrap for the final podium place has opened up once more. I'm tempted just to let these guys go for it against each other and see if we can try and capitalise late on in the day. But it does still feel like we're hanging on rather than really fighting them, as we have been pretty much all afternoon. Lando Norris is just doing kind of what he did in 2020 on a lot of occasions, or 2021, staying close enough to the front runners that he's got a chance when something goes wrong. Oh, someone's stopped. Who's got issues now in this Grand Prix? Bottas has gone past Piastri. Can't see anyone stopped on the circuit. 7 laps to go here in Jeddah. Kevin Magnussen's binned it at turn 4. Again, no yellow flags, or no safety car even, I should say. Just tried to tip it in there, trying to stay too close to the back of the Aston Martin in front. And that is another end plate gone for Kevin Magnussen, having a nightmare throughout the entirety of this afternoon. It is not his day. Same can be said for Oscar Piastri there. He's down to P11, but if he can stay close to Bottas, and Bottas can't get back within the range, he might have a chance late on. 3 laps to go then. Looks like Lando now trying to apply pressure to Lewis Hamilton. Perez has got out of this little Mercedes battle and has broken free further up the road there. But look at this, Lando Norris back up into P5 then of the Grand Prix. Will he be able to get the power down side by side with his fellow Brit Lewis Hamilton there? All 3 Brits on the grid battling out for this well, it's not even a final podium place anymore. Oscar Piastri, I think, unfortunately for him, the chance for points here looks like it's just falling away right at the very end there. Just doesn't got enough battery to really do anything. But we're going to have to start micromanaging Lando Norris there, because there's still a chance of some more big points. 2 laps to go at this Grand Prix. Now is the time we've got to go for it with Lando Norris. Attack mode, full deploy, everything like that. As we head in towards the final couple of laps, I think we've just got to try and see if the Mercs battle each other and try and make something happen because of it. I think we've just got to go full deploy on Oscar and see what he can do as well there. In a bit of no man's land at the moment, but you never know what craziness might continue on in the final couple of laps then of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix there. Here goes Hamilton to the inside of George Russell once more as we head back down towards turn 1. Will we see Lando Norris try and follow him by? He's certainly going to try it back down towards the first corner there, but can't quite find a way around the Merc, as George still battling with Lewis off of the corner there. And now will we try and get an avenue through? No, Russell would just slot back in there. I'm amazed that we're letting Mercedes battle each other as aggressively as they are there. But again, it's just another frustrating race for Oscar Piastri, where the tyres have gone off right towards the end there, and that's cost him a chance at a potentially bigger result than he's going to get here. But Lando Norris still applying the pressure to George Russell in front there. It's been a fantastic race management by Ferrari there. Carlos Sainz there clearly on the optimum strategy. Of course, just did not get held up by that huge gaggle of cars battling a bit further behind there in the midfield there, of course, which pretty much everyone else in this race has seen. And Verstappen, it looks like again he's not going to score points there, opening 2 race of the year, and the Dutchman still unable to get off the mark. A couple of mistakes, a couple of strategy errors. It has not been the start to the year he would have wanted, as Lando Norris then trying to apply pressure to George Russell as we head down in towards the final couple of turns. Might have just taken a bit too much out of the battery pack on this penultimate lap there. Carlos Sainz starting the final lap, though, of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Here goes George Russell on Lewis Hamilton once more as we head down in towards the final corner. Lando's just got to go for it onto the final lap of this GP then. We're going to put him on full attack mode to see if anything can happen as we head back down towards someone there. ERS is now empty, but Willie's still been able to get the extra speed off the corner. Looks like George Russell is now just defending Lewis Hamilton as we head back down in towards the first turn there. So I'm not convinced we're going to get anything for Lando Norris on this final lap there. Oscar Piastri, he's just sat there in no man's land. It looks like it's going to be P12 for him, but are we going to see any mistakes on this final lap there? George Russell, how good is his tyres? I mean, they're looking better than ours, to be completely honest. Then Verstappen on a fresh set of soft compound tyres later on in the day clearly wanted to try and take fastest lap bonus points away when points looked to be impossible here. But George Russell is just dropping back slightly behind his teammate here. Will Lando Norris be able to go for anything on this final lap then? We're just going to try and recharge the battery slightly and then go for something down in towards the final couple of corners here. Just try and hang as close as he can to the Mercedes in front of him. I don't know whether we're going to be able to get the run. I think we've just got to go overtake mode. We've got to go overtake mode, see what happens in towards the final couple of corners of this Grand Prix there. Again, he gets a mega run down here. George Russell compromises his line ever so slightly, but will he still be able to get the run off the corner? It looks like he's going to try and battle his teammate just in front of him then. Carlos Sainz will win the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix here, but here goes George Russell weaving this way and that once more to try and find a run around his teammate there, but cannot get anything in towards the final corner. We're going to go full deploy out of the final turn. Are we going to be able to do anything against George Russell then? Maybe he's just depleted his battery pack a bit too much. All three Brits line astern, side by side, but it's not going to be enough. It's P6 for Lando Norris then at the end of the Grand Prix. That was still very promising though, able to hang close to those front runners there. Alpine are going to come through for 7th and 8th, so really not a good race for either of the World Championship leaders then. Ferrari will resume the perch at the top. Red Bull, first point of the year for them, and Checo with a podium in P3. Yeah, Piastri down in 12th. Not the perfect race for us, but I think Bahrain was probably a bit too good.
Lando Norris can be proud. What a fantastic performance from him. McLaren have shown some serious chops here. A good result for the team from Surrey.
This was thrilling to watch. They've done an excellent job and they deserve all the plaudits.
That's right, and they finished the race weekend in 3rd place in the constructor standings.
And for the next round, Formula One is heading down under. Exciting times ahead in Australia on the shores of the Albert Park Lake.
Well, there we are then, the end of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, and Carlos Sainz probably should have won both races to kickstart the year there, but he finally does get that first win of the new season here in Jeddah. Charles Leclerc in P2, I'm pretty certain will now take the lead of the Drivers' World Championship there ahead of Perez. Hamilton, Russell, Lando Norris, Ocon, Ricciardo, Bottas and Gasly will round out our top 10 there. And yeah, a little bit gutted for Oscar, felt like he had a bit more pace in the car, just could not quite hang on, but Verstappen from pole, a heartbreaking end to yet another Grand Prix there, but an unforced error, his own mistake. When will the Dutchman get back on track? Championship-wise, though, Charles Leclerc, leads the way, 4 points ahead of Lando Norris, still in P2. Sainz now up into 3rd ahead of Ricciardo and Esteban Ocon there, with Russell now in 6th place. Perez jumps up into 7th ahead of Hamilton, who gets his first points of the board on as well. Bottas tied with his former teammate there. Alonso, Oscar, Pierre Gasly and Magnussen all with points on the board there. Just leaves Sebastian Vettel, Max Verstappen, both Williams, Tsunoda and both Aston Martins yet to score. Constructors-wise, Ferrari, jumped towards the top. 31 points clear now of Alpine. McLaren still in P3, though, just 2 points behind the French organisation and 5 points ahead of Mercedes there. And Red Bull, despite having a podium, still only 6th overall there. Goes to show just how weird and wonderful the start of the year has been. And Williams and Aston Martin are only teams yet to score. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like. Get yourself subscribed as well. Hopefully next time around I'm going to be able to provide some better commentary once again. But yeah, we will be back very, very soon. Ready in the land down under, Australian Grand Prix. We've already pretty much caught up F1 in real life. None of these videos would be possible without the help of our channel members, so a massive thank you to all of the names you see on your screens currently for helping support the channel. You can join them by clicking the join button down below, and yeah, thank you once again to everyone that continues all the insane support on my work.